Hey everyone, I'm Travis Gafford, and in partnership with Super League Gaming, I am here today to interview Adam Shetler, who is the Director of Social Strategy. But really, I understand you work with the League of Legends product a ton, right?
Yeah, both League of Legends and Minecraft as well. And while my title is Director of Social Strategy, I will definitely say, as with any startup, we all wear a lot of hats here. So kind of run the gambit and basically kind of any general like esports community and kind of culture building around our city teams, kind of all that work.
Cool. Yeah. All right, so for people that are watching this video for the first time, we should talk a little bit about what this League of Legends thing is that you guys do here.
Absolutely.
So maybe you can give me like the brief synopsis about how this whole thing works.
Yeah, so SLG's League of Legends City Champs is a 12 city at this point tournament for League of Legends that takes place primarily in the United States right now. Excited to potentially merge and kind of grow that further later on. But right now, it's a 12 city tournament in the United States where local players can join their city club team. We have city teams in a variety of major metropolitan areas all across the US. And really what it is meant to be kind of the grassroots or first major amateur league for League of Legends players in the US.
So when you say amateur, I think whenever I think of even amateur League of Legends tournaments, I still sometimes think like I'm a very mediocre player.
Right.
I could never enter into this thing, but I understand City Champs is a little different.
Yeah, the really cool thing about City Champs is, at SLG we really want to make sure that we're catering to every possible player, right? So while we want to make sure we're true to that mission, we also want to make sure things remain competitive. So all the city teams in City Champs are set up in a fashion where they're made up of multiple tiers of kind of skill levels. So while in each of those tiers themselves, we are finding the best players within that city, they're also coming from different ranks of kind of the League of Legends divisional ladder that you're familiar with from like traditional ranked play. Yeah. So what that means is our tier 1 teams on these city club 60-person squads will manifest players anywhere from like Diamond, Platinum, Challenger, etc. Whereas your tier 4 teams who still are playing competitively on this same squad, the 60-person group, can actually manifest from even divisions like bronze, silver, gold, etc.
Cool.
So it's just a really cool way to, regardless of your skill level, still be able to find meaningful competition at a local level, but potentially go higher as well.
So even if I am not that great at League of Legends, I can also find other people that are not that great at League of Legends.
That is
and we can play against other people who are not that great at League of Legends. And then if I win, I will feel like I'm better at League of Legends.
That's absolutely correct. Okay. And if you're insanely good at League of Legends, we've got people for you as well.
Okay, awesome. So a challenge for everyone.
Yeah.
So what is this experience like? So it's an amateur tournament, but how does this all play out if I decide to enter into it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it starts out with an online qualifier. So basically, you pay a pretty nominal fee of $5 to get into your city's online qualifier. Then the tournament kind of migrates into this online qualifier phase. It takes place over 4 days. And during those 4 days, we have windows of roughly 5 hours where you'll use Super League's website to basically act as kind of a go-between, the tournament and the league client. So you'll queue up on the Super League website, and it will gradually serve you a tournament code that you paste into the League of Legends client, just as you would if you participated in any other tournaments in the kind of Riot ecosystem. And you'll then immediately be matched up with 9 other players that are also in your tier and your city qualifier, and you'll start to play a game of League. Yeah. And over the period of that qualifier, your main goal as an individual player is to complete at least 6 games in the role that you want to qualify for the team as. So if you're support, knock out 6 games over that 4-day window, and if you rank amongst the top players in your city within your tier, you make it to the theater team. The theater team is kind of when the show kind of really gets interesting, because now you're migrating from an online qualifier that could ostensibly have, thousands of players from your local city. Now it's boiled down to the 60 best and grouped up in these 4 tiers. So if you do make that team, you're actually invited out weekly to play in theater in one of SLG's gaming arenas that we've set up in our partnered theater locations.
And now I saw on the website people get really cool jerseys.
Yeah.
How do I get the jersey?
Yeah, so the jerseys are, as we've come to find, are very coveted amongst many of the players in our cities. And unfortunately, you don't get one just for qualifying. You do have to actually make the theater team. But if you do, you will get your team jersey. And we do change them up a little bit season to season as well. So it's a fun way to kind of commemorate the season that you participated in or made the team, because it'll be a little bit unique from kind of seasons from other years.
So we should talk a little bit about this. You are no stranger to working in League of Legends and with the League of Legends community. What is your background?
Yeah, so I've been in the game industry for about like 6 or 7 years now, and the lion's share of that time, and actually the first place I met you was when I was working over at Riot Games. So I worked on League since it was about 6 years ago now, and while I was at Riot, I worked on everything from esports social media to general marketing for the game, as well as a lot of event management. So met a lot of great players at things like PAX and Gamescom through the years. And spent about 5 years there. It was probably one of the best 5 years of my life, as I think most people that have had the opportunity to work at Riot would attest. And but as any company that's experienced the success as Riot has, it's grown quite large. And I'm the type of person that I grew up in the backwoods of Pennsylvania. So for me, large companies get a little busy and a little overwhelming. So I was ready to kind of get back into the startup world. And after taking a few months off, from Riot. Super League kind of came up on my radar, and it just really kind of spoke to me with the mission that the company has, and it was a great fit.
Now, having worked at both companies, I think you're a good person to ask this question. I know personally that Riot does not partner with very many people, very many companies, and yet Super League, which is a relatively small company, it's relatively new, you guys were able to secure this partnership. So what do you think it is about this, the product and the company and all that creates a good partnership between the two companies?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that boils down to just the DNA of the two companies is very similar. If you look at the history of Riot Games and kind of like the inception of League of Legends and a lot of the motivation around it, it was always meant to, really bring and create a game for core gamers, and a AAA title is very accessible to a large audience. And I think, though, if you really boil it down, Riot is very much a community-focused and player-focused company, right? It's part of their manifesto and is kind of the North Star that they guide everything they do by. And I think realistically, when you look at Super League, we started out with Minecraft events for younger kids and younger gamers, but the mission was always the same. It was really to take all local gamers in any given city and find a way to, through these compelling, whether it's competitive or more social-leaning events, try and create experiences that really bind those people together, right? And can take it, their gaming experience past, the admittedly huge amount of fun you can have playing online with your friends and playing online solo or duo queue and things like that. But ultimately taking that like one step further and offering them that opportunity to not only make those connections and forge those bonds, internationally and across the nation, but really just looking in their backyard and realizing that, like, hey, maybe there's actually 4 or 5 people at your school that you could be playing Minecraft with or League of Legends every day. And so for us, Super League is similarly to Riot, is very, very rooted around community, and we believe a lot as well in not only esports, but an esports ecosystem that is very inclusive, welcoming, fair, and sportsmanlike. So I think the more and more the two companies kind of discussed and talked about potential opportunities, I think it was just a very clear kind of match made in heaven that we just very much aligned with our philosophies.
So you already had season 1 happen, right? Going to season 2 of City Champs. I heard, just talking around the office here, that there's some really cool success stories from season 1 where there's some cool stories about the players themselves who attended. I don't know if you want to share any of those.
Yeah, I mean, we have some really compelling stories from season 1. It was a kind of an overwhelming experience because it was a bit of a shot in the dark. It was the first time we'd done the season, and for many players, and much to my chagrin as a marketer for City Champs, a lot of players just aren't quite sure what it was. So when we went out there for season 1, we were really excited to see the huge uptake we did, and a lot of the players that we found were actually coming to the event. One of the most interesting facts about some of them were that they weren't actually as local as we thought they were going to be. Some people saw such a huge kind of value proposition for themselves in this experience, this opportunity to not only kind of get their foot in the door with esports, but also meet like-minded players in a physical space and form those bonds that I think are somewhat a little bit more difficult to do online. And we had players coming from for the LA team, as far as we had 1 or two that were coming from all the way north in San Francisco.
Really?
You know, like literally driving down on a weekly basis. And the dedication for folks like that. And in season 2, we have some people even considering flying from out of state on a weekly basis. The dedication that I saw in those people, you know, not only was it overwhelming, but also just to speak to them after the fact and asking them, so you've done this now, you drove all these miles every week, the tournament's over, your team didn't even win, like, how do you feel about this? And they're just like, you know, like, I would totally do that again, you know, and that is, it's extremely heartening, you know, so I think that's one of the most interesting kind of tales, but I think also is just really seeing the kind of camaraderie and strategy that starts to form in this group of competitive gamers that you're putting in this, you know, literally physical space every week in and week out. You start to really see kind of a microcosm of what, you know, both you and I are familiar with working in and around the LCS in the past. You start to see a lot of those same themes. You start to see the strategies coming to fruition. You start to see, you know, rivalries being established. You start to see, you know, the trash talk being thrown back and forth over Twitter and Facebook. And what I thought was the most interesting thing was in a lot of these city teams, you started to see actually individuals kind of bubble up who just were natural leaders, right? And they would start doing things like creating, you know, massive spreadsheets for all 12 of the teams that made up the 60-person squad, and start, you know, strategizing around picks and bans for everyone, and coaching, seeing the platinum and diamond players coaching the bronze players on some of the lower tier teams. And it was just the sense of community and the kind of communal mission was just like super, super invigorating for us at SLG. And from all the players that we spoke to and all the, you know, the video that we captured at the events, it was a pretty awesome time.
So what is changing between season 1 and season 2, and what's even more hype or what's cooler?
Yeah, so there's some pretty major changes going between the seasons. So season 1 was really kind of our major coming out party, right? Like, this is City Champs, and we really kind of broke ground with this concept of live city v city competition that's taking place in a physical location. For season 1, we were really kind of hamstrung by the fact that we really couldn't let as many players participate as we wanted. We hadn't yet scaled up our tech to allow online competitions and things like that. So we actually had to do like a golden ticket system where a lot of people registered, few people got to actually participate. So for season 2, we're really excited because not only are we moving up past our 4 cities to 12 new cities now, or 8 new cities, 12 total, but we've also opened up the online qualifiers. So in season 1, where literally participation was limited to 60 gamers per city in only 4 cities, we're now at a world where we can really have what is arguably now there's no real limit on the number of local players that can vie for spots in the team. And we're able to penetrate into a lot more markets now as well with some of the theaters that we've brought on board. So I think the major first kind of thing is just scale and accessibility for players. But then in addition to that, we've evolved some of the prizing and just in general kind of shored up how some of the tournament structure works based on some of the feedback from season 1 to make sure it's as competitive as possible.
So you guys have 12 cities now.
Yep, 12 cities.
So going forward, you know, like if I'm watching this interview and I live in a small town like Marion, Kansas.
Yes.
How do I convince you to create a Super League gaming team and competition in my area?
Yeah, so we do we look at a lot of variables when we consider, you know, which cities to spin up next. Everything from kind of the current health of the gaming community and esports scene to availability of venue locations with our partners. But then, you know, a huge kind of driver of that as well is just the accounts we see showing up on superleague.com, right? Because season 1 was a great example where we had vastly more players register for Super League than were even in, you know, the cities that we were currently operating in. And you know, we very quickly realized that was because they were trying to hint to us that, hey, like, you should come to my city. So so back then we kicked on a feature where you can nominate your city for inclusion into the Super League ecosystem. So as well, while you can still do that, the easiest thing you can do is just register. You know, register, put your address in there, and help us understand, you know, where the biggest interest is for something like this.
Very cool. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are curious about season 2 and you know, how to sign up or get involved or learn more.
Yeah,
do you have anything that you would say to any of those folks that just want to learn more about what this whole thing is?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are interested in participating in City Champs, highly encourage you to do it. And all you need to do is go to superleague.com. Qualifier tickets are only $5, and if you do make the city team, it's an additional $60 to participate in the entire season. Just to kind of further frame out what that gets you, you get 3 City v City matches during the full season. If you make it to the semis and finals, there's 2 more events that you get as well. So overall ticket price about $65, and you could have yourself the opportunity to be in a multi-week live action City v City tournament for League of Legends.
Yeah. And at some point in time, you get a jersey.
Yes, you do get a jersey if you make the city team, and they're pretty awesome.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I really appreciate it. For everyone else, hope you enjoyed the interview. Thanks for watching.